Okay, Rex, I've started recording, so we're ready to go when you are.
Greeting, fellow township officers. My name is Rex Edge. I represent District 1 of the Minnesota Association of Townships. I am new to the board, so many of you probably haven't met me yet. But on behalf of the association, I would like to welcome you to these virtual 2021 spring educational courses. Before we continue, I'd like to ask you to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I realize this pandemic has been stressful on most of us and especially in conducting township duties. We hope that these presentations will assist you in providing services for your communities. The Minnesota Association of Township is still operational, and we are here to assist you in any way we can. Should you have any questions over anything presented in these courses or any township issues, please let us know. And you can also use your chat for questions during the presentations. Today's presentations are for Supervisors Day 1, which includes 4 one-hour classes. Materials were previously emailed out to the registrants and our meeting hosts. Leslie Rosedal will also put a link to them on our chat box. They're also available at our Minnesota Association Township website and near each class registration link. Today's presentation and other presentations from other days are being recorded, so you or other township officers not able to attend can view the recorded sessions. A link for those recorded sessions will be on our website. Some courses are offered live 2 times because Matt realizes that township officers are still engaged within their communities. Therefore, we want to provide more than one opportunity to participate. We have presentations for supervisors, new township officers, and clerk treasurers on different dates, so you can attend one or all. A note about virtual class participation. We are using a Zoom webinar format, which allows the presenters to see the names of participants and our meeting host to unmute people as needed. If you have a question, please use the question and answer function on the bottom of your screen, and the presenters will see that and respond. Today's presentations are for, Matt is excited to have Jeff Kruger join Matt as our new executive director. Jeff is a supervisor in a New Market Township and joins us with experience as small business owner. He has been active in MAT training and legislative events. He joined us on March 29th. Thank you again for attending, and now I'll turn things over to our presenter.
Hi, good morning. My name is Mark Lanterman, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer of Computer Forensic Services. Before joining CFS, I was a member of the United States Secret Service Electronic Crimes Task Force. Our firm is also the crime lab for the digital crime lab for the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. So we are contracted by 38 law enforcement agencies to provide those services here in Minnesota. I've been really fortunate enough to have worked on a number of interesting cases. I worked on the Tom Petters investigation. I worked on the Denny Hecker case. But the only case that ever impressed my mother was the Paul McCartney divorce. So I finally have some street cred with mom. So here, I'm going to share my screen. And coming into today's session, I wanted to put myself in your shoes. If I were you, what would I want to hear about? So these are the topics that I've chosen for us today. I want to discuss with you phishing because, and phishing, these are those scam emails that wind up in your inbox every single day. But the fact is, if I were going to attack you or your township, this is how I would do it. So I thought that we would take a few minutes and talk about phishing. And we're also seeing a significant increase in ransomware attacks against cities, townships, municipalities. So we're going to talk about ransomware, especially because on October 1st, there was a significant change in the federal government's position with respect to ransomware that I think you need to be made aware of. So we're going to talk about ransomware. And then, if you think about it, it seems as though every single day we hear about another data breach and another data breach and another data breach. And my thinking was maybe at least some of you have never seen a data breach. So I'm going to show you a cyber attack in real time. I'm going to discuss with you a case involving a Minnesota city that was the victim of a cyber attack. And I'm going to walk you through and show you in real time how that malware was launched and how quickly that city was compromised. And then the topic that keeps me up at night, it's the Internet of Things. If you think about it now, everything seems to be getting connected to networks. Everything's getting connected to the internet. And my general philosophy is whenever we gain a benefit from technology, we give up an equal or greater amount of security. So we're going to talk about the Internet of Things. And then just to wrap up, my thinking was maybe some of you have never even heard of the dark web, or if you have, maybe you've never seen it. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of cases that passed through my office from law enforcement, and I'm going to give you a tour of the dark web. Now, I do want to say I'm going to be covering a couple of real life cases today. The intention is not to embarrass any city or any municipality. These are good lessons learned. And I'm grateful that they were willing to willing to share certain information with me. So again, there's no intention to embarrass. This is for learning purposes. Now, before I get to phishing, I do want to share with you my all-time favorite photograph. I was really honored. I was asked to speak at one of the largest cybersecurity conferences in the country. There were about 3,500 attendees. And I show up and I make my way to the registration desk to sign in and pick up my name tag. And there's no one sitting there. So I have an unattended laptop at a cybersecurity conference. And I look down and something gets my attention and I think, I just gotta get a picture of this. At one of the largest cybersecurity conferences in the country. This slide became the opening slide of my keynote address to all 3,500 attendees. I've not been asked to return, but that's okay. The point is, hackers need our help. Hackers can't do what they do without our help. And unfortunately, as in this case, sometimes they don't even have to ask for help. We just give it to them. And organizations and townships, you can spend tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on cybersecurity measures. And that entire investment goes right out the window when you have one careless employee pulling something like this. So, don't do this. And the takeaway is hackers need our help, and either we give it to them without them even having to ask, or they trick us by clicking on links and downloading attachments. And this is my favorite example of a phishing attack. Now, phishing attacks are carried out via email, and I know that they fill up your inboxes every day. You know, congratulations, you've just won a $50 Best Buy gift card to claim your prize. Click here. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I received an email from the BCA, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, warning me that a registered sex offender has moved into the neighborhood, and to see who it is and to see what steps you can take to protect your children, click here. Well, the state doesn't send out emails like that, but this is my favorite phishing example. And it's an email purportedly from Google. The subject line is, someone has your password. Hi, so-and-so. Someone just used your password to try to sign into your Google account. It happened on Saturday. We here at Google, we are so techie that we even log the IP address. Ooh. And we track the bad guys back to the Ukraine. And we all know everyone in the Ukraine is a hacker, right? But it's okay. Don't worry. We here at Google, we saved your bacon. We stopped these Ukrainian hackers from accessing your data, your client's data, your city's data. It's okay. We stopped these bad guys. But now you should change your password immediately. To do so, click here. Now, hopefully after today, none of you would ever fall for this. But the reason why this email happens to be my favorite phishing example is because of the identity of the recipient. The recipient of this email was John Podesta. Now, you may remember John. John used to be Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. This is the email. This is the email that resulted in the leak of all Clinton campaign emails to WikiLeaks. This is the email that arguably influenced a US presidential election. And as though that wasn't bad enough, John's password was password. But it had a capital P, so that made it a little more secure, I suspect. And these attacks are not going to go away anytime soon because they make criminals a lot of money. In Plymouth, there is a very successful privately held pharmaceutical company. And their CEO, their chief executive officer, travels to China to speak at a pharmaceutical conference. The company is proud of their CEO, so they announce it on the company's webpage. Our CEO is speaking in China. So now the world knows it. While the CEO is in China, the CEO sends an email to the company's chief financial officer, the CFO. I'm in China. Excuse me. Conference is going very well. Hey, CFO, I have discovered an opportunity here for us. I have come across a young pharmaceutical company here in China that is doing research 5 years ahead of anything we have ever seen. CFO, you're the only person at the company who I trust with this information, so tell no one, but we are going to acquire this company. I need you, excuse me, I need you to immediately wire $52 million to this bank account in China. 52 million. I will give you all of the details when I return to the country in 10 days. 10 days, 10 days is an eternity in the life of a wire transfer. 10 minutes is an eternity in the life of a wire transfer, right? I'll give you all of the details in 10 days. Tell no one, get that money wired. The CFO, being the dutiful CFO that he used to be, picks up the phone, calls the bank. Hey, bank, it's a CFO. I need you to wire $52 million to this bank account in China right away. Thank you. The bank goes, okay, it's your money, whatever. And the money goes. 10 long days go by. The CEO returns to the country. Hey, boss, how was the conference? It was great. Hey, boss, when do you want to sit down and talk about that secret acquisition? What acquisition? Gulp. The acquisition that you told me to wire $52 million to close on 10 days ago. You did what? You're fired. Now, you may be thinking, oh, horrible story. Horrible story. You're right. It couldn't possibly get worse. No, it gets worse. The company then decides to sue their bank. And what happens when you sue? Well, when you sue, everything becomes public, right? So now the world knows you're an idiot who wired $52 million because you got a couple of emails telling you to do so. The company's position was, you're a bank, you're a financial institution. You should have known that this was fraud. The bank's position, which I happen to agree with, was, but you were the CFO. You should have known that this was fraud. The takeaway, the point is, before you share anything of value, like $52 million, pick up the phone and confirm. I can't tell you how many fraud cases we get involved in involving fraudulent wire transfers. And all it takes is a phone call. If that CFO had simply picked up the phone and called, hey, boss, got your email about the acquisition. Sounds like a great opportunity. Hey, 52 million, that's a big number. I just want to make sure that I have the commas in the right place. I want to make sure that I have the banking information correct for that ACH transfer. If that CFO had simply picked up the phone, he would be a hero today. Instead, he works the overnight shift at Arby's. And, they don't even let him work the register. I mean, Arby's won't even let him near the money. He's like the fry manager or something like that. Okay. So pick up the phone. In 2019, 4 of the top 10 law firms in Minneapolis hired our company because the law firms were victims of phishing attacks. And one phishing attack was this. It was an email from the managing partner, the boss, to the finance director. I need a spreadsheet with all W-2 information for all employees right away. Thank you. So when the finance manager received this email, she sees the name, right? I mean, when you get an email, you see the person's name. Yep, that's the managing partner, maybe the township manager. Yep, I reckon, yep, that's the boss. Reply, here's a spreadsheet with all W-2 information. Send. The problem is she didn't bother to look at the actual email address she was sending this to. So instead of sending it to managingpartner@lawfirm.com, she sent it to smartcriminal@hacker.com. So the point is, before you share anything of value, whether it's information or $52 million, pick up the phone and confirm. Okay. Whenever we gain a benefit from technology, we give up an equal amount or greater amount of security. And technology has allowed us to become much more efficient, and we're clicking through our to-do list much faster than we ever have. And maybe we're not reading these emails carefully enough. Maybe we're not thinking about what we're doing. Maybe we're just in autopilot mode. Okay. Pick up the phone. Don't trust anything, any request that you receive via email. Now, you may remember about, I guess it was about 4 years ago now, there was an individual here in Minnesota who was involved in a lawsuit, and he lost his case. And what does this genius do? Well, he goes on the internet and he hires a team of hackers to launch a cyber attack against the state of Minnesota's courts. On a budget of $200, this guy shut down our court system. All courts in Minnesota were shut down for 3 days, a Wednesday, a Thursday, and a Friday, on a budget of $200. Now, I recently saw this headline. A Florida city pays $600,000 to hackers who seized its computer system. The hackers apparently got into the city system when an employee clicked on an email. Listen, it's almost always via email. Remember, hackers need to trick us. Hackers need our help. And the way that they trick us is they trick us into clicking on links and opening malicious attachments, downloading attachments. Okay. It's always about email. Here's what gets me mad about this headline. If that other guy could shut down Minnesota's entire court system for 3 days on a budget of $200, what do you think I could do on a budget of $600,000? What kind of damage do you think I could cause to your township if I had a budget of $600,000? Don't pay the ransom under any circumstance whatsoever. Do not pay the ransom. All that you are doing when you pay the ransom, well, you're doing two things. Number one, you are identifying yourself as a patsy who pays the ransom, and they'll be back for more. Okay. When you pay the ransom, you don't become buddies with the hackers. Okay. They know you're willing to pay, and they're going to come back and they're going to attack you again and again and again, as long as you keep paying. So number one, you identify yourself as an organization, as a township that pays the ransom. But number two, what you're doing is funding cyber terrorism. You are funding cyber terrorism because this money that you're paying in ransom goes to paying computer programmers to write new cyber weapons applications that will be used to attack you, your colleagues, and others. Okay, don't pay the ransom. If your township finds itself in a position where you don't have a choice but to pay the ransom, then you need to fire your entire IT staff, because ransomware has been around for a very long time. And IT guys, we should know about this. We should be prepared to respond to this type of attack. This is nothing new. These attacks have been around forever, and they're always a headline. Look at Atlanta. You need to be prepared. IT needs to be prepared to recover from a ransomware attack. And if we are not prepared as IT people, then we are not doing our jobs. And if we're not doing our jobs, then what are you paying us for? You should fire us. Okay, don't pay the ransom. And I'll tell you, it's not just me telling you don't pay the ransom. It's the federal government. On October 1st, the Department of the Treasury issued this advisory stating, hey, if you pay the ransom, you're funding cyber terrorism. I think they maybe attended one of my training classes. If you pay the ransom, you're funding cyber terrorism. If you pay the ransom, your organization, whether you're a company, whether you're a township, whether you're a city, whether you're Fortune 500, it doesn't matter. If you pay the ransom, you are now subject to sanctions from the federal government. And I'll tell you, this is not a paper tiger. I have a client right now who, against my advice, paid a lot of ransom in the mid six figures. Against my advice, paid the ransom. The Treasury, the federal government, found out about it and sanctioned them $110,000. That's real money. And it's also really bad publicity when the government fines you. Okay. And here's something else that I think is interesting. A lot of organizations have cyber insurance policies. According to the Treasury, if your insurance company facilitates a ransomware payment, your insurance company is subject to sanctions. If you hire a security consultant like me to help facilitate that ransomware payment, I'm subject to sanctions. Don't pay ransomware ever. If any of you would like a full copy of this advisory, let me know. Shoot me an email. I'll share my email at the end. I'm happy to share this. This is new. A lot of towns, a lot of cities, a lot of lawyers are unaware of this. Okay, so it's important that you share this with your colleagues. So I thought it would be kind of interesting to share with you a real cyber attack that I worked on in May of 2019. Here is the background. A city in northern Minnesota, they rely heavily on tourism. Come and spend your days on the on the shores of Lake Superior. They have worked closely with the state of Minnesota in an effort to identify grant money to help not only support the city, but also to invest in advertising to promote tourism. So here is the backstory. One day, the finance manager, who is also the HR director for this city, two hats, one person, the finance director gets this email from the state of Minnesota. Subject line is reminder invoice. And we can see that there appears to be an attachment From the file extension .doc, I think it's safe to assume that this is a Microsoft Word document. The email reads, "Good morning. Please find attached invoice that was missing. I can confirm that $50,956 has been received November 29th, 2018. Thanks and best regards." Okay. Well, the city finance manager has no idea what this is related to. So what does she do? Well, she does the same thing you and I would do. She double clicks on the Word document. What is this? When she tries to open the Word document, she sees an error message. And I'm going to show you this error message here in a few minutes. She sees an error message. What she doesn't see in the background is the Word document has embedded in it code that goes out to the internet and downloads to the finance manager's computer a remote desktop application. So what that means is the hackers can sit at home in their mother's basement, because that's where they all live, and can log into the finance manager's computer as though they are sitting at her keyboard, and they can control her mouse. And if they wanted to, they can just sit back and watch her click around on her computer. So she double clicks on the Word document. She sees an error message. She doesn't see this nasty stuff going on in the background. What's the next thing she does? She forwards this email to 70 coworkers. "Hey, I'm having trouble opening this Word document. Can someone give me a hand, please?" Really? She single-handedly infected over 70 computers, the computers used by her colleagues. By doing that, she single-handedly infected that city. What do the hackers do next? They do nothing. They sit and they listen and they learn and they educate themselves, and they get to know who's who's in charge, who manages money, what bank does the city rely on, who are who's the banking contact. They just sit and they learn for 5.5 months. This city was completely compromised, unknowingly, completely compromised for 5.5 months without a clue. And then the hackers made their move. On a Friday morning, the hackers logged in and impersonated the finance manager in an email to the city's bank. "Hey, Joe, how are you? Oh, I hope the family is doing well." You see, they had time to read all of the emails, so they knew the relationships and they had information to gain trust with the bank. "How are the kids? What are you doing for vacation this year? Hey, Joe, listen, I'm really sorry to do this on you, but I have a last minute emergency request. The city, we have a new payroll vendor. So instead of sending today's payroll to the bank account of our typical payroll vendor, please send payroll to this other bank account, the bank account controlled by the hackers. Please send payroll to this other bank account that is our new payroll vendor. Again, I'm so sorry for the last minute emergency. Oh, please say hi to the family for me." The bank did not pick up the phone. The bank did not confirm these instructions. In fact, the bank just followed the instructions received in this email. And instead of sending payroll to the typical payroll processing account, sent it to the hacker's bank account. That was on a Friday. Monday morning, the finance manager becomes inundated with phone calls and emails. Where's my direct deposit? Where's my paycheck? I got bills to pay. I got kids to feed. What's going on? It was only then that the city realized they were the victims of a very sophisticated cyber attack. They to the loss of just shy of $400,000. They contact law enforcement. Law enforcement opens an active criminal investigation, and then we get retained to assist. We traveled to northern Minnesota. We collected evidence. And what you're looking at now, this is the computer. This is the desktop of the computer used by the city's finance manager. So this is the key system. One thing that jumped out at me, and maybe you see it too, is this wallpaper. You know, I haven't seen this wallpaper in a long time. I think this was my wallpaper when I was like 11. Okay, so the city is using an old, outdated version of Microsoft Windows. Not only is the city using out-of-date Windows, this computer was also missing 5 years of free Windows security updates. I guess free wasn't in the city's budget those 5 years. No antivirus, no anti-malware, in fact, no security whatsoever. Oh, golly, how did we ever get hacked? So I thought it would be interesting to show you this attack in real time. So when I count to 3, I'm going to open up that Word document, and you're going to see exactly what this city finance manager saw. You're going to see how quickly that city was compromised, how quickly that city was put in a position where it lost just shy of $400,000. So when I count to 3, I'm going to open that Word document. 1, 2, 3. An old version of Microsoft Word. That's the error message. That's it. The attack is done. The attack is successful. In under 4 seconds, that city was completely compromised. This is the error message that the finance manager saw. The error reads, you are attempting to open a file that was created in an earlier version of Microsoft Office. Attempting is spelled ATTEMTING. Vanna, may I please buy a consonant? Listen, if something weird happens on your computer, don't forward it to 70 of your coworkers. And you're not expected, none of you are expected to have perfect security. Perfect security doesn't exist. Ask Microsoft. Perfect security doesn't exist, but you have to take, and you're responsible to take reasonable steps to protect your township's data. You're not expected to have perfect security, but you have to do something. Okay. Don't run outdated versions of Windows. Install your free Windows security updates. Install antivirus. Install anti-malware. You have to do something. Okay. You don't want to be a headline when there is a cyber breach and it comes out, you're running a version of Windows that's 6 years old. Okay. You have to do something, and you can't pay the ransom. Don't pay the ransom. So I thought it would be interesting, the topic that keeps me up at night is the Internet of Things. And some of you may remember a few years ago, Blaine lost water. And they lost water not once, but twice. And the city started communicating with its residents via social media. Schools were closed. A power supply was blamed. Think of it like this. The city was basically saying, "Hey, we blew a fuse in the kitchen. Okay, there was a bad power supply, but everything's fixed." I like this bottom post on social media. Hey, residents, when the water comes back on, make sure you boil it before you drink it. Okay. Gross. But there was one post that got my attention. The power supply has since been replaced. Kudos. And the city will consult outside experts to audit the utility for security improvements. I thought that was kind of an odd thing to say. Think about it. The last time you blew a fuse in the kitchen, right? Because that's what the city said this was. It blew a fuse, basically. The last time you blew a fuse in the kitchen, did you immediately think, oh, I got to update my antivirus? I thought this was a weird thing to say. So our firm, we're the digital crime lab for the Hennepin County Sheriffs. As you know, Blaine is in Anoka County. So we don't work with them very often. We don't work with them, but but we do know them. So I called one of the detectives from the Blaine Police Department. Hey, it's Lanterman. Hey, Lanterman, how you doing? And I asked him, "Hey, do you have a police report about the water outage?" Yeah. I said, "Well, great. Can I get a copy of it? I mean, it's a public document, right? I mean, can I get a copy of the police report?" "Oh, yeah, no, no, we're not disseminating that." Now, coming out of law enforcement myself, I know that that's an awful big word. So I had to look it up. They don't want to disseminate it. Oh, they don't want to give it to me? Okay. Hey, Sarge, let me ask you this, completely hypothetical. What if I hire a lawyer and then I do a data practice request? Do I get the police report then? "Oh, Lanterman, come on, man. You're one of us. You're a copper. Come on, don't go nuclear on me." "Okay, listen, I'll send you the police report, but you got to promise me that you won't disseminate it." So I'm not going to send you a copy of it, but I thought that we could read it together because I think there are important lessons to be learned. So the next slide contains portions of the police report. Now, I don't like slides with a bunch of words. So, don't worry about squinting and reading everything. I'll walk you through, I'll kind of paraphrase everything that's in there. So here is the Blaine police report. Let's say I'm the detective. Paragraph number 1, my chief of police told me start a criminal investigation into the water outage. Okay, that's a good step. Paragraph number 2, okay, I'm the detective, and I know that at our water processing plant in Blaine, we have a security system. We have security cameras. So the first thing I want to do as a detective, I want to go and I want to review the footage from the video recorder. Okay, that's a good move. But when I got there, I was told that the video recorder has been, quote, beeping for a couple of months, beep, beep, beep. and the beeping has been driving everyone crazy. So they unplugged the video recorder. Okay, so there's no security footage. Strike one. Let's see, I'm the detective. What else can I do? Okay, I want to look at the security event logs on the servers, on the computers that manage the water processing plant. Yeah, you know, about those security logs, our IT staff deletes those logs every 24 hours. So we don't have those security logs. Okay, strike two. Now I'm starting to see why they don't want to disseminate the police report. Then I turn the page. Redacted. I looked up that word too. That means they don't want anyone to see what's on here. And I had 14 redacted pages. Now, when I was in law enforcement, I would redact things too. Like if you're the victim of a crime, I'm going to protect your name. If you're my confidential informant, my CI, I'm going to redact your contact information. But I had over 14 full pages redacted. It felt like I was reading the Mueller report into how Russia allegedly manipulated or influenced our elections. Like the whole thing virtually was redacted. Then I turn the page and I have words again. Remember, this is the police report. I, the detective, I reviewed Minnesota State Statute 609. Blah, blah, blah. 609 is Minnesota's criminal code. Why would the detective be reviewing a criminal statute? Because he wants to charge someone with a crime. Before I would submit a case for charging to a prosecutor, I would review the statute to make sure that my report addressed every element of the crime, because otherwise a bad guy gets away. This cop is also reviewing a state statute. What statute is he reviewing? Damage to property of critical public utility. It is a 10-year felony, $20,000 fine each occurrence. And the city lost water on at least 2 occasions that we're aware of. And I like the last 2 sentences. I did consult with the Anoka County Attorney's Office regarding this case, and they advised that without specific intent, they would not prosecute. What kind of specific intent does a blown fuse have? Because that's what the city said this was. Remember? The city told its residents, this is just a blown fuse. Oh, and our chief contacted the FBI. Operator, get me the FBI. I cannot reconcile the city's social media posts, the city's communications with its residents. I cannot reconcile those communications with the police report. One of them is lying, and I don't think it's the cops. This is the topic that keeps me up at night, and it better start keeping every one of you up at night. It's the Internet of Things. And if you think about it now, everything is getting connected to the internet, to networks. Our self-driving cars, what could go wrong? Our smart TV sets that we're installing in our conference rooms. And I want you to hear me out on this. We're installing these TV sets in our conference rooms. And what's the first thing that we do? Well, we connect it to the internet, right? So that we can watch Netflix. You know, we're installing these TV sets in our conference rooms, in our living rooms, in our bedrooms. We're connecting them to the internet. And these TV sets have cameras and microphones. So we are installing internet connected cameras and microphones in our conference rooms, in our bedrooms, Rethink that. Okay. Disable the microphone, disable the camera, and don't connect it to the internet unless you really, really have to. These are gateways for attack. Our power grid, our appliances, our semi trucks that deliver healthcare supplies from manufacturer to healthcare provider, that deliver food from field to table. These trucks are connected to the internet. Our security cameras, our nanny cameras that we set up to watch and make sure our kids are playing safely in the backyard, and that creeps are using to watch our kids playing in the backyard. Our printers, our laptops, our pacemakers, our insulin pumps, our implantable medical devices, all getting connected to networks. So with the last few minutes that we have, I thought it would be interesting to share with you one final case example. So part of my job is I conduct security assessments for cities and townships and counties and courts. And a security assessment means I look for ways bad guys will attack you. And then we work with IT and we try to get you as fixed as possible. Sometimes if I'm working for one entity, I stumble upon an unrelated city that has some security issues. And I don't just want to ignore that. I just don't want them out in the wind with these problems and they don't even know about it. So my policy is, if I'm working on a project and I stumble upon someone else's problems, my policy is I'm going to contact them. I'm going to tell them what's wrong. I'm going to offer to work with their IT staff to get them fixed, and I do it for free. I'm not doing this to make a quick buck. I do it because it's the right thing to do, is to make sure our cities and our townships are secure. But if you don't take me up on my offer, then you're in my presentation. So let me show you what I found. I found the city of Toccoa, Georgia. One day I'm doing a security assessment for a large Minnesota county, and I stumbled upon 17 devices on the internet, no security whatsoever, that I traced back to the city of Toccoa. I called Mr. Scott. I called him at that phone number. I don't redact. I introduced myself. I explained to him, I have identified 17 of your devices on the internet, no security whatsoever. I'm like 99% certain I know how to fix these things. Why don't you go round up IT? I'll tell them what I'm seeing and I'll tell them how I think they can get this fixed. I'll do it for free. Mark, wow, thank you so much. Wow, I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. I'll go round up IT and I'll give you a call right back. I said, well, great. I'll be waiting by the phone. So I waited by the phone for 6.5 weeks. Didn't get a call. So I called Mr. Scott back. Mr. Scott, what happened? Never heard from you. Mark, I'm so sorry. I meant to give you a call. I talked to IT and they said everything is secure. So, thank you for your time. Oh, is that a fact? What is secure? Because I never told you what the problem was. Oh, and by the way, I'm looking at it right now and nothing is secure. Why don't you go round up IT and let's talk about it right now? Mark, how do I put this? IT doesn't want to talk to you. So now ego is entering the equation. And here's something, and I'm sure you already know this. IT guys, we have really big egos because we think we're smarter than everyone else. And we use these technical terms that no one else understands but us. It's like the cool kids, only just the opposite because we're techies. Security and ego don't mix. They don't mix. IT doesn't want to talk to me. Okay, now you're in my presentation. Let me show you what I found. I found the controls for the gate of the dam that protects the city from flooding. Water valve open, that says off. That means the gate is closed. That's a good thing. What do you think happens if I click on? And that's not part of today's presentation, but that water has to go somewhere. This dam protects Toccoa from a 30-foot wall of water, 30 feet of water. You know, what if I were 11 or 12? And what if I clicked on and I opened up that gate because, you know, I want to show off for my hacker buddies at school. That water has to go somewhere. Now I'm going to damage property. Perhaps I'm going to hurt people, right? Is that the kid's fault? Yes. Is that the city's fault? You better believe it. And I'll tell you, I worked with the Department of Homeland Security. I notified the Department of Homeland Security, and in less than a week, this was off. All 17 devices were secured. And the takeaway is it shouldn't take a knock on your door from the Department of Homeland Security to get your security house in order. And just in closing, I really had hoped that the city would have taken me a little more seriously, because in 1977, that exact same dam burst and killed 37 people. 29 of the dead were kids. They were college students. These are young people. Toccoa is the home of a Bible college. And while they were sleeping, they were drowned. They were hit with a 30-foot wall of water. And yet IT doesn't want to talk to me. Security and ego don't mix. So I wanted to come in today's session and hopefully share with you some information that you would find helpful. I would love to be a resource for you. If you have any questions, if you have them, you can ask them now. Otherwise, take a picture of this slide. You can email me. You can give me a call. Thank you for taking the time and spending today with me. So are there any questions?
Well, hey, thanks, Mark. This is Leslie Rosedal. I'm our meeting host. We've got a few questions in the Q&A section. Can you see that on your screen?
Yeah, you know, my eyes aren't really what they used
That's
to
okay.
be. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Why don't could I read them for you real quick?
You know what? I just expanded it on my larger screen. So let's see. Tom Chapman asks, with the new administration, DFL, there are many regulations given to the county. What can the townships counter these regulations controlling our citizens? I don't really know. I would need more information, but Tom, if you'd like, send me some additional facts and I'd be happy to give you my feedback. Sarah asked, before opening an email, is it safe to right click and view source of said email and then print the view source of email for documentation purposes to turn into law enforcement? You know, what I would say, Edith, is you have to be really careful. The only way it activates is if you actually click on the links or you open the attachments. So what you're describing here is safe, but you still want to be super careful. Again, it's the clicking and the double clicking that brings risk to you. Larry asks, we are now using registration polling pads, which sends signals to the county. How safe is this? You know, I would want to test it and I would be happy to do that for you. I did conduct a security examination on one voting machine and I was able to change votes. but it took me about 5 hours to do it. And my guess is that your voting judges would be suspicious of someone, tampering or, in a polling booth for like 5 hours. So while there is risk, it takes a lot of time, and I could only change a handful of votes, which likely would not influence the outcome. Julie asks, what is the best antivirus software you would recommend? Also talk about the dangers of flash drives. Okay, so here's the thing though, antivirus doesn't work. It catches some stuff, but really it's a placebo that makes us feel good, and it shows that we're doing something. But I will tell you, and I don't want to sound like a shill for Apple, but 99% of the malware out there will not run on an Apple. So use antivirus, but just know that you still have to remain vigilant because it's not perfect. Let's see. Sarah writes, to whom do we report? Whoops. Let's see. I lost it. Okay. To whom do we report these emails, calls, and other phishing attempts? Once hooked, the Secret Service is the right place. But what can we do with these emails besides not clicking and deleting them? Here's the unfortunate reality of it. Okay. You can report it to the FBI. You can report it to the Secret Service, and they'll document it for you. But unless you have a significant monetary loss, odds are they just don't have the resources to investigate. So if you do have some suspicious communications, notify a supervisor, make sure that you're not sharing confidential or valuable information, and don't click on the links or open the attachments. Steve writes, the federal CISA offers a cyber hygiene service to local governments. Is it a good service for towns to try? I don't know. I've not reviewed what they do, but thanks for sharing the link. I will check it out. And if you want to follow up with me, I'm happy to give you my feedback. Karen, thank you for the kind feedback. Let's see, Tom Chapman, we're using Zoom. Is it safe? You know what? I'll tell you, Zoom has some security critics out there. I'm not one of them. A lot of the security issues that you read about really are user error. And what I mean by that is you have school boards posting on Facebook saying, here, we're having our school meeting. And then they wonder why and how they have people joining the meeting and saying rude things. Okay. Invite only. Don't post Zoom links on social media. Require a waiting room so that the moderator can let individuals in who are known and trusted, and require a password. Let's see, can I please post my contact information again? Sure. I think, hold on. I think the slide is up, but let me post it for you.
Okay, perfect. And thanks, Mark, for posting that. And I hope folks can see that that's in the question and answer section. Answers. I just want to thank you for your incredible presentation today. I think everybody, you've got a lot of accolades in the chat and the Q&A, Mark. So appreciate your time today. And I think we'll move to our next speaker. So thank you again.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe and healthy. Bye now.
Thank you.